One of the reasons I love anime as a medium so much for telling stories is you get these really effective but very simple shots that are easy to overlook, but if you dig into just the visual symbolism of what's going on, it really adds a lot of weight to a scene. There's a moment where Yuki is in his rat form and he's walking on a bridge with Toru, and he's talking about how he feels like essentially a rat in a cage. He's caged in this family, no matter how far he pushes back, he can't escape this hell. This is just hell to him, and he is just in a prison. And what we see is a shot that is so beautifully done, where basically the guardrails to the bridge that they're walking on are framed as if he's in a jail cell. It's super simple, easy to overlook, but when he's talking about feeling like a rat in a cage, you literally see basically jail bars in front of him, which aren't actually jail bars, but it's so effective, and I love scenes like that. It really just adds so much to what the character is saying. You can hear the emotion in the voice actor, but when you get these little but simple but very important moments with the visual storytelling, it really ties a scene together that easily could be something that's disposable but really comes across as so magical. So far with Fruits Basket, each week has improved on the last. I enjoyed where episode 1 was, episode 2 blew me away, and episode 3 has left me speechless. Something that I feel like is underutilized with modern anime, and Fruits Basket is an older manga, so it makes sense why we're seeing something like this in the 2019 version. But it's how characters have self-doubt and kind of view the other as being someone that they wish they could be, and in doing so they sort of form this resentment without realizing that they have their own kind of importance, their own little quirks that make them special, and there is no such thing as the perfect person. Everyone has their faults and pros and cons and weaknesses, but it's up to you to kind of make the best of what you have. And I love the idea of Kyo and Yuki because they both envy the other, and for different reasons. When you look at Kyo, he's actually someone who's very good with interacting with people in social situations. Yeah, he may have an anger side and more aggressive side, but he easily can adjust and become friends with people, even if he is a little hostile at the beginning, as we see how he plays with cards with people. But he has a very big hatred and kind of self-doubt and just resentment for this family because he is the cat. He's not a part of the 12 Zodiacs there, and essentially all his life, even people within the family have basically praised Yuki as being the kind of golden child where he's just a filthy cat and no one likes him. So even though he has all these amazing quirks, he really is great with people and social situations, he grew up in a family that essentially viewed him as nothing, and in doing so he feels like he's just worthless. Even when he starts training with martial arts before Yuki catches up to him and kicks his ass. It feels like as if he's just weak and is useless when he compares himself to Yuki. In doing so, he doesn't see his own self-worth. And then with Yuki, you have someone who's actually kind of terrified of people in general. He keeps trying to push away from this family that puts him on a pedestal, but that's not the life he wants, and he's trying to push back, but he sees Kyo as someone who can easily adjust to these situations that he wishes he could be a part of. In doing so, he closes off himself, and just people around him really don't get to see who he is. He feels like he's a faking this kindness to just help him in these situations, but that's not who he is, and if he really showed who he was, people wouldn't appreciate him for who he is the same way they appreciate someone like Kyo. So even though their spirit animals do resent the other, it's really interesting how on a personal level, when they grew up, they naturally formed this kind of enviness and resentment for the other because they kind of have what the other wants. Kyo just wants to fit into this family. He doesn't want to feel like a failure. He wants to catch up to Yuki and just feel like he's actually a part of something, even though he has all these great quirks that actually help him kind of adjust to a normal life. Where with Yuki, you have someone who just wishes he could be in that normal life without feeling like he's super special or artificial and is too good for others, like kind of his family raised him up. I love areas of storytelling such as that because it really is just human. Even though you have this more supernatural and spiritual twist with the Chinese zodiacs and the whole like switching into animals, it really is a human thing that even if you have like a best friend throughout school, maybe they get more popular than you and you kind of view them as like, why can't I be like them? What's wrong with me? And I like how human and just believable that resentment and relationship is, and you really do kind of feel like Toru wishing that they could just be friends and kind of make up and kind of see the brilliance in each other. One of the final lines that Toru says about kind of like the plums on their back, kind of recognizing that everyone has something that's special about the other, but because it's on your back, sometimes it's hard to recognize your own worth and why you are someone special. And I thought that was so perfect. It was just a perfect way to wrap up the episode because that's really what this episode was about. Even though there was a lot of comedic, lighthearted, and just really ridiculous and cute moments, it really was about just how sad their lives are because they really hate the other, but they don't hate the other really because of who they are, but more so they wish they could be them, but they would never admit that. And I thought it's heartbreaking, it's relatable, and that's what I love about their relationship right now, is it's so goddamn genuine, and you can find ways to either relate to your own life or just situations that you've seen when you grew up going through school, or what you're currently seeing if you are in school. And that's what's so great. A lot of anime, they kind of forget that relatable moment of kind of wishing you could be the other, kind of hating yourself because you feel like you don't connect in the way that you want to. Maybe you want to be more popular, but you're a little afraid to go into that social circle. Maybe it's very easy for you to be in that social circle, but your family kind of views someone else in your family as being a lot more special than you are, and you kind of feel like that outcast. That relationship and the way they tie it with the zodiacs, with the cat and the rat, is so perfect. It naturally clicks, but it still has that relatable and human charm that really ties it together. And Toru just kind of being almost like matchmaker here, just trying to bring out the best in the other, trying to make them see that they have self-worth and that they are special and kind, and that kindness isn't just a one-trick pony. Everyone has their own way of bringing out that kindness, and the kind of comparison with the candle I thought was just so beautifully done, because really people like Yuki, they need to see that they are okay with who they are, and that they just need to put themselves out there from time to time, not trying to judge themselves as not being another, but just appreciating who you are and recognizing that's okay. And even though there was a lot of dramatic, a little more realistic and heartfelt moments in this episode, it didn't stop it from having a lot of adorable moments. I just love how these simple social situations can occur, like trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then you just see the most ridiculous comedic scenes possible. I love the idea that essentially these boys can essentially have their animals just kind of latch onto them, so you'll just have them sitting in the classroom and then, oh, look at all the cats here. It's just the little moments that kind of tie these episodes together, and I love it, especially with some of the more ridiculous and just simplistic art shifts that they do. I love the idea that the cats are so simply drawn, or then you'll have Yuki who just slapping a girl essentially in the face when she's trying to confess. But I like how even though they have these more ridiculous and comedic moments that are either adorable or just chuckle-worthy, they still are able to transition back to that more dramatic and serious tone to kind of highlight that maybe the way that they're acting isn't the way that they should. Everyone feels like Yuki is this special person and no one's good enough for him, but that's not really what Yuki's trying to do, and it kind of brings him down. So it's interesting how they can balance that comedic and dramatic moments very effectively. The whole situation in the rain I thought was beautifully done, especially because, like, I always like that, especially scenes where they are crying and, you know, it's in the rain. They weren't crying in this situation, but it still felt like he was crying on the inside, almost like he just feels like no one can bring him out of this situation. And Toru is just so kind, so beautiful, that she's able to transition from this pouring rain sorrow scene to a bright, romantic looking scene where someone's like appreciating who he is, maybe for the first time in his life. And I really, really like scenes like that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of setup. I mean, we got the foreign exchange student who I thought was just adorable and hilarious. Really excited to see where that's going to go. Obviously, we got a crush lurking behind a tree at the end of the episode. There's a lot of setup, obviously, for the future events for the series. But even just the one-time, just simple moments, just the way the friends of Toru act, I love just their simple but very effective moments where they can just bring out this ridiculous aura to then right back into the swing of things with the Fruits Basket kind of dramatic charm that we know and love up to this point. This series is just great. Honestly, I might even say this is currently my favorite anime of the season in terms of new original ideas. It's so simple with what it's trying to do, but that's what makes it so beautiful, is because they're not trying to go overblown. They have the zodiac twist to it, of course, but it's just really real and human relationships. That is what makes it so great, because a lot of times I think series try to go a little too overboard. Maybe they try to go a little too crazy, and in doing so, it kind of takes you back and not let you buy into the characters as actually people, but just an anime character. But with Fruits Basket currently, even though these boys can transform into a rat or a cat or a dog or whatever else, it's still, I view them as a completely human and believable person with really their self-doubt and their hatred for themselves, the enviness and just their rage and kind of determination to beat the other. I really buy into it and I believe it, and the way that they just naturally tie in with the Zodiacs is just the perfect way to tie together an already impressive and really gripping character story. But then when you add that kind of Zodiac twist to it, it just ties it together with this nice bow that really makes Fruits Basket into something special, which is why I'm really happy that this is going to get a full adaptation and that we are just in the first season, and we're going to have at least one more to kind of wrap up this entire story, which honestly, Fruits Basket is great. I love the framing of the shots. I think it's just beautiful to look at, the romantic and cute aura that it kind of radiates. I love the Japanese voice acting. It's so passionate and raw and emotional. it really grips me. I love Toru, and I just love the boys in general in terms of how they're delivering their lines. Very human, very small but noticeable fluctuations in their voice to really get you across that, they have a lot of emotions. They're bottling it up, thinking that that's how they should go about it, but now that Toru's here, she's actually letting them kind of open up slowly, and just, even though they might fight, like at the end of the episode, it feels like they're slowly but surely going to get to a point that maybe they can talk with one another without trying to punch each other in the face, which really makes me happy and excited for the future of Fruits Basket. One thing I do gotta say is I'm very happy that a lot of newcomers, I'm seeing a lot of newcomers in the comments for Fruits Basket reviews, are appreciating like the attention to detail that I'm trying to go into. That's what I always do for my episodics. I always try to dig into the finer details a lot of people try to skim over, because that's just how I do it. When I watch an episode, I'm not just looking at it at a surface level, I'm trying to dig into what's truly going on. So I'm glad people are really appreciating that and kind of recognizing what I'm doing here, because it makes me happy to see that people are actually noticing that I'm trying to dig into the finer details and not just go on the surface level, very shallow reviews, things like that. So it makes me happy that a lot of people are appreciating how I'm structuring the Fruits Basket reviews, as I'm having a blast reviewing it. And like I said, it's currently my favorite show probably of new series in the spring 2019 anime season. It's definitely a fun one to review, and it's great to finally experience this story that I've heard a lot about. Didn't know if I was going to love it or hate it, but I'm definitely adoring it so far, and I can understand the hype that it has. So really, thank you for everyone who has been commenting and supporting these reviews. I wasn't sure how good they were going to do, just in terms of growth, analytics, just comments and engagement, but it's really, really awesome to see how well they currently are doing. But for everyone who watched this week's episode of Fruits Basket, what did you think? For manga readers, fans of the original anime originals like myself, what did you think of the very human and believable relationship between Yuki as well as Kyo, as well as Toru in this week's episode of Fruits Basket 2019? Let me know down in that comment section below. And if you are new around here, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button if you did enjoy. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.